Hello everybody, I am Ben from Team Panic. It is time now to talk about how my new overpowered four-wheel drive beta weight performed at ARC's December meet. I have titled the robot, or called the robot, Move. If you have not seen the build of this thing, I have stuffed effectively a featherweight drive system into a beta weight. There will be links in the description and on the end card if you want to see how this thing was built. But we should also quickly talk about ARC's pits because unfortunately, again, they are still down for this meet. ARC is run by volunteers and they only do this because they like combat robots. And unfortunately, they don't have a lot of time to fix things up, especially as the arena is only accessible to us about half an hour to an hour before the event happens, and it takes about 45 minutes to build. So there is not a whole lot of time to repair things at the moment. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we will get the pits repaired sometime soon. There's a talk of a whole new mechanism in underneath them that will hopefully be more reliable and easier to service and maintain. But for the moment, the pits are still unfortunately broken. So one of them is up and one of them is down for the entire competition. Speaking of the competition, it is the regular round robin format with a deciding finals at the end of it. And our round robin group, we are going to start by fighting Beta Griffin, which is a very deadly and damaging egg beater spinner.
3, 2, 1, go!
Well, that could have gone better. First of all, I kind of messed up a little bit. I failed the box rush because of the floor seam, but also I knew that the floor seam was a thing. In the build video, I talked about the fact that I had set the wedge all the way down on the floor, and that's probably not a great idea going in and fighting at ARC. But I didn't actually move it back up again. There is enough slop in the bolt holes that I could have actually moved it up a little bit and had it off the floor, which would have helped with the box rush and not allowed Beta Griffin to get up to speed, which definitely hurt us in this fight. Having said that, one of the exchanges, we got under Beta Griffin, so maybe having the wedge low was a good thing. I don't know. We kind of need like articulation maybe. I don't know. Anyway, the one that we got underneath him though, it wasn't the greatest thing in the world because the bolts that hold the faceplate on aren't recessed enough. I didn't have a big enough countersink to recess them all the way in, so they stick out by like a millimeter. And unfortunately, he got weapon tooth directly onto bolt and threw it across the arena. Like it ripped out of the nylon print because as mentioned in the build video, all of the bolts are literally just threaded into screws, actually printed into the nylon print because these nylon prints are that dimensionally accurate. You can just print a screw into them or a thread into them and it works, which is kind of crazy and very, very cool. But in this case, I didn't have enough actual threads engaged and yeah, it got ripped out and thrown across the arena. The next time round, he got in underneath us, hit us, flipped us up and over onto our back. And then I was trying basically to keep the wedge facing him, but did not end up doing that. He got a wheel, which actually cracked the hub, which was just a 3D printed hub, so kind of understandable. Messed up the wheel a little bit, but if I didn't have spares, I would have kept running it for the entire event because it would still have been totally fine. Then of course we ended up on the actual pit itself, kind of balanced on it a little bit. He hit us one more time, we got in there, and then just our movement got the pit to fully open. As mentioned, these pits are unfortunately an old design. They have been around for a long while at this point, and yeah, the mechanism inside is just busted. And again, hopefully soon there will be a new mechanism in place which will be a little bit better than the one that is currently there. Anyway, with that, we lost that fight. However, I will say I was pretty happy with the nylon print in this fight. I mean, yes, I had one bolt like rip all the threads out of one of the holes, which wasn't great. But on the other side, we got hit directly on the back and there was just a little scuff mark out of it, which is good. That's kind of what I was hoping, was that this nylon was kind of going to break kind of similarly to ABS and HDPE and that type of thing, where it takes a hit, it chunks out, and then it's all good from there. And that kind of is what we saw in this particular fight. So I'm not unhappy with that on the whole. Definitely could have been a better fight, but you know what? It worked out pretty well. So that was that fight, and we did in fact lose it. So we are moving on to a robot called Choppy. This is a robot that is a big scoopy wedge, all made out of cutting board.
3, 2, 1, go!
So I was fairly excited to try out the pushing power of move in this fight. A little bit too excited, as it turns out. After getting around the floor seam, I slammed straight into him, got a little bit of a push, could kind of see that getting that push was a possible thing here. But then unfortunately I overcorrected, got myself over the pit that I myself actually opened in the previous fight, and fell down on in, which is a bit of a problem. Yeah, move can be fairly twitchy, especially on the left and rights, or on the turns, I guess I should say. And that is the thing that led to my undoing in this particular fight, was that twitch just got me, and I ended up down the pit. But, you know, I think what I'm really going to blame this on, I've lost 2 fights in a row. I think that the real reason for that is not enough googly eyes. So obviously between fights, I blinged out the front armor a little bit, and of course added some googly eyes so that we had something to help us survive a next fight. And that next fight is up against a robot called Spin Smash. This is a dumb melty brain. It is effectively a melty brain, but there is no melting electronics or code inside of it. I guess it's just a high-speed rotary thwack bot.
It was going to be here on Thursday, and then it was like, no, Monday. I think it's okay. I got some.
Yeah. Because you got to buy them from Canada, so you may as well buy crap. Oh, you got your eye. Doesn't look like it matters, yeah.
Alright, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
Stop the countdown, I can't move.
2, 1.
As it turns out, high-speed rotary thwackbot is an interesting robot to fight. It bounces out of the pit in our arena. In fact, it doesn't actually even touch the bottom of the pit, because that is what is counted out in ARC if you touch the bottom of the pit. But when Spin Smash is up at high speed like that, it goes over the pit, but the chains and the hammers keep touching the floor while the main body kind of cycles over the hole and doesn't ever go down into it. So those 4 bounce outs, totally legal. It stayed in the fight fully and completely. And also, combat googly eyes. They did work. They actually helped out here. I mean, we smashed them on the hammers, but they helped out a lot, I think. I mean, we won the fight for a start, which is better than we've been doing in the previous 2 fights. So, combat googly eyes, it is the way to go. Yeah, so we took a couple of hammers to the face, which was really good. I mean, I was expecting the thick 10mm HDPE to survive that. But also we got hit on the googly eyes, which are on top of those screws, and didn't lose another one. So that was a good sign, I think. And we also got the drive power, getting in underneath him, pushing him around a little bit. When he got stuck in the corner, I thought he was high side and was like, nah, I'm just going to keep this fight going. So drove into him, got him up on top of me to like get him back out again. And then of course I dropped him into the middle of the arena with the hammers on either side, and he still couldn't move. So something went wrong in his electronic system there, I think, which is not all that uncommon when you are spinning around at exceptionally high speeds like that. Melties have problems with their electronics for exactly the same reason, and yeah, a high-speed thwack apparently has exactly the same problem. But there you go. Combat Googly Eyes got us the win, and hopefully they will continue to do so, because next up we are fighting Iron Tooth. This is the largest and most deadly horizontal in our entire Beta Weight League.
2, 1, go!
Ow! Yeah, we kind of exploded. Look, here is the damage. It is obviously extensive damage here. Basically, all that really happened was that he hit me with effectively a tombstone trick. Like, he showed me his side. I was like, cool, I'm going to push by the wheel. And as I got there, he swung back into me, and the tip of his weapon basically just grabbed the very, very edge of my armor and just ripped it off and shattered basically most of the chassis in the process, which is wild to me because I was not expecting that at all. As we'd seen in previous fights, I was expecting the nylon to perform the same as like an ABS or a HDPE and not shatter but chunk out. So like rip the threads out of the front armor but not like break everything through there. So yeah, I think this one is on me. Yes, PCBWay made this chassis for me, but I requested it in that material, not knowing what that material would do and not really knowing its material properties. I think that must be something to do with the like actual sintering process that makes it more brittle, because I feel like nylon should have handled that hit better, but I don't know, maybe I am wrong about this. I didn't do any kind of material science or mechanical engineering on my way through university and stuff, so this could just be how nylon behaves, and there might be some material scientists out there laughing at me for ever thinking that nylon was going to do anything other than explode into a million pieces. But live and learn, so there you go. That type of laser sintered nylon stuff will shatter in a combat robot. So ant weights it seems to do really well in. Beta weights, yeah, not so much. But now we know. I mean, hey, it is very cool stuff, and I will probably keep getting some of it from PCBWay for the lower weight classes, but for the higher weight classes, no, unfortunately not. Of course, that left us with an entirely destroyed move. Now, at this point in time, I had two options. I could throw in the towel, or I could pull out the hot glue gun and the duct tape. And we had two fights left, and neither of them were against very destructive robots, so I decided that, of course, we had to pull out the hot glue gun and the duct tape. So we hot glued back together all of the pieces on the underside here. There is one gap in that, which is actually not from me missing a piece. I got back pretty much every piece of the robot, but that hole is actually because I put a piece in, or I didn't put a piece in the right order, effectively. Like, there's one big piece that I put in, and I should have had the other piece in first and then the big piece in, but I messed it up. That's on me. But having said that, it went back together pretty well, and it's fairly solid, all things considered. I mean, there is a lot of hot glue in under there, and hot glue does deteriorate as it ages, so putting this back in for another competition is not a great idea. It's also basically made of duct tape too at this point. So, you know, it could be better, but at the very least, it actually works and it actually drives. So, you know, we're gonna go ahead and throw it back into the arena. Speaking of, the next fight up is against a robot called Sordid History. This robot is a big kind of overhead thwack style robot. So this is a bit of a fight again of tall v small.
3, 2, 1, go!
It's pretty big, isn't it?
Hey! What? Ha! We won a fight! Like this! Look at this! That is incredible to me. The fact that we were actually able to even drive was surprising, but yeah, the fact that we won a fight like that is just insane. Weirdly to me, the other thing is that we're basically contacting now on like 2.5 wheels. We're not getting full contact with the ground properly, but that made the robot easier to drive. And I honestly think it's because of this back right wheel here. This back right wheel is the only one that has a motor on it that didn't have a KV rating, and I think this one is actually twice as fast as all the others, which meant that when it was contacting the ground, it was putting a twisting force on the drive motion of the robot, and I was just having trouble driving with it. So yeah, using this or using these drive systems further ahead in a featherweight, I'm gonna have to swap that one. And in actual fact, when I do that build video coming up soon, we will actually do that swap together so you can see how I made these and how I basically mounted these brushless motors on these gearboxes as a kind of guide, but not really guide. It would just be a follow along as I build type dealio. Yeah, so that actually worked pretty well. I didn't really get to show off the drive power of Move too much because, of course, he was driving mostly over top of me, left some nice big marks on top of my duct tape here. How rude, right? Which is just tire marks, effectively, as he's driven over top of me. I did get a little bit of a pushing match in here and there, but again, because he could just drive over top of me, that kind of negates that whole thing from happening. Yeah, and then he ended up trying to do the spin smash thing and use his sword as a hammer, but that didn't quite work, and then he got into the pit, bounced out once, but then of course it didn't end up working the second time, and he goes down the pit. So we got the win on that fight, which is actually incredible, again, considering how busted Move is at this point. So, riding that high, we're going straight back into the arena up against a robot called Killercorn. This is also a four-wheel drive, not with the ridiculously overpowered drive system, because it actually has a fully CNC'd aluminium chassis with a cool looking horn on the front.
3, 2, 1, go!
Yes! Save the best for last! Sure, this was a short fight, but it proves that Move has drive power. This was another four-wheel drive robot. We got into a head-to-head and we just pushed them. There was no contest at all. Move was not breaking a sweat. And again, we were only touching the ground on 2 out of 3, or yeah, 2 out of 4 drive wheels, or like 2.5 out of 4 drive wheels. So this proves to me that realistically I probably could run half of this drive system in a beta weight with a weapon on it, and it would be wildly competitive. And even if the weapon goes down, I would still be able to shove people around, no worries at all. So that might be something that we do in the future. We may end up kind of rejigging something like this, but I will need more gearboxes because I've only got these 4, and again, these 4 are going to go into a featherweight pretty soon. Again, that is coming up, so subscribe if you want to see this stuff be built up into its actual weight class that it's supposed to be in. Yeah, not too much more to say about this one. It was quite a short fight, but it was proof that Move does the thing that it's supposed to do and works pretty well on the grand scheme of things. Unfortunately though, that was the last fight of the day because with 3 wins and 3 losses, we did not make it through into the finals. So Move is out. Also, having said that, up in those brackets were Beta Griffin and Iron Tooth again. Actually, Iron Tooth may not have made it, but I think Beta Griffin did. I cannot remember. I was out of the finals, so I don't have that locked in the memory. But I was also told by the EOs that considering how much of the robot was made of duct tape, they would not allow me to fight Beta Griffin again because basically of the risk of lipo fire, the risk that the robot was going to fall apart and the lipo was going to be chewed up by Beta Griffin's weaponry was too high for me to go back up against him. So kind of a good thing that I didn't in the end, because otherwise I basically would just have to forfeit. Anyway, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you have enjoyed that one, and I will see you in the next video.